Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile video for 3.25. Giga Spectres are back. Spectres? Spectres?
You might want to try turning some of these corpses into spectres, to take advantage of some of the unique abilities that these monsters have.
I'm talking about the craziest Spectres that we were ever given in this game, which happened back in Affliction League, and they came in the form of corpses from that league mechanic. They are now actually back. Now, there's a lot to cover in this video, but before we dive into it, I do want to ask that if you find yourself enjoying this content, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more content. It helps the channel out more than you know. Thank you so much. Let's dive into it. In the patch notes for 3.25, we were told that the purchasable corpses from Affliction League is now reintroduced as a reward from the ritual mechanic. Now, the patch notes also describe that these corpses have been rebalanced to be of appropriate levels for the core game compared to their debut back in Affliction League. Now, sadly, we have yet to see any exact information as to what states these specters will be in. But what we do know is that these specters provide buffs that we're unable to get elsewhere, making them even a super nerfed state extremely attractive for a large variety of summoner builds. Another sad thing to mention before we go into the fun part of this video is that during Necropolis League we had access to all flames, giving us access to really cool specters like the Moon Dancers. Now these completely melt most computers. You know, unless, of course, you're rocking that sweet Starforge systems, of course, and you can get one too by using my Starforge link in the descriptions down below. Ads aside, we also want to have access to the community favorite Forge Frostbearers, but they come from the Crucible League and not from the Affliction League mechanic. But to move on to more positive things about this introduction, is that we're yet again getting access to Giga buffers, such as the Hulking Monstrosity. They are buffing any minions considered a construct, which increases attack and cast speed, as well as giving nearby allies a % of physical damage as extra lightning damage, and increasing their damage output. Now, these bad boys even beat the classical Arena Master Spectres in terms of buffing our damage output for any minion build that uses minions that are considered a construct. Another really cool addition is in lines with other popular Blink and Mirror Arrow builds, which is to focus on lightning damage output, having the Spirit of Fortune Spectre, which provide an insane Wrath aura, which by itself is actually really cool, but in a nerfed state it might not be as good as it used to be. What makes this Spectre so crazy is that it makes nearby allies lightning damage lucky. Now, the lucky mechanic essentially makes every hit you and your minions are doing roll the damage it's supposed to do 2 times, and then it will choose the higher value before having that damage being dealt to enemies. So this is one of the craziest or strongest modifiers one can have for lightning-based builds, as lightning damage normally has a very high range between bottom rolls and the top-end damage rolls, increasing the value of having lucky hits. The third notable spectre I will mention from the list of these available specters is the Dark Marionettes. Now, the Dark Marionettes are utilized as a suicide bomber build, where you had your specters essentially run into the packs of enemies and just explode crazy amounts of damage whilst presenting a very lazy yet comfortable gameplay experience. My friend Balor Mage made a really cool build guide back in Affliction League for these bad boys that I can highly recommend checking out. There are plenty more specters, so I will give you a quick rundown of a few more to avoid wasting your time, as I think the first 3 I mentioned here are the most notable ones. First off, we have the Naval Officer. They provide a precision aura on top of some really cool abilities with nice graphics covering entire screens, by the way. Another specter to mention is the Forest Tiger, which provides frenzy charges to nearby allies on hit on top of having the haste aura. So again, even in a nerfed state, minions like this, allowing them to generate charges is still a very attractive choice, similar to the frenzy charge monkeys that we have in the early game stage of the current campaign. Another minion would be the Druidic Alchemist, which provides 1 life flask charge every 3 seconds and uses a concoction-like ability scaling high damage output. Guardian Turtle provides physical damage reduction and casts a Determination aura. Now, do keep in mind that the Guardian Turtle is a very slow-moving minion. I found myself being out of range of this one quite a lot, but it does have some very cool uses, especially in boss fight. Speaking of cool and bosses, Hydra Spectres. It is the literal Shaper Guardian boss, the Hydra, and you can have them as a Spectre. Now, they have crazy map clearing abilities and cast the Hatred aura. I do know that the Empyrean's Magic Find group used these back in Affliction League for clearing, and it looked phenomenal. Speaking of looking phenomenal, Judgmental Spirit, also known as the GPU Melters, they cast Discipline, summons an insanely large army of skeletons, and cast a stupid amount of projectiles, spraying the entire screen, looking absolutely nuts. And the last spectre I'll mention in this long list of available specters is the Primal Thunderbird. These birds cast actually the Grace aura, and they also inflict lightning exposure on enemies as well, so they become a very useful tool for any lightning-based damage builds that you might run. Now, there's a lot more options available, but the ones mentioned here are the more commonly used ones, and I can't stress how excited I am to utilize these as part of the core game. The diversity these specters bring to the summoner builds of Path of Exile is something I was very happy with back in Affliction League, and I can't wait to use them in 3.25. Now, I have reached out to Mark to ask about some more details of when we can expect to see the exact information of how these nerfed state of these specters will actually be, and I have yet to see a response from this, but I will make sure to share this with you guys as soon as I can. Also, make sure to leave a comment down below what you think of the reintroduction of these specters in the game. And as always, till next time, stay safe, keep rocking.